Have you ever wondered what happens if Luffy met Mihawk instead of Shanks? Well, first of all, if Luffy met Mihawk, he would never be able to eat gum-gum fruit until he steal it from the red hair pirates. Then who would eat it? Of course, someone in Shanks' crew or Shanks himself. There is no wonder that if Shanks knows the truth behind the gum-gum fruit or not. Anyways, this video is not about who eats the gum-gum fruit other than our boy Luffy. Luffy in the original timeline desired to be the Pirate King, but in this situation, he would be inspired by the great swordsman Mihawk, and wanted to be the greatest swordsman alive in the history. The grandfather of Luffy, Monkey D. Garp himself, handovers Luffy to the great Mihawk to train him and make stronger, as Garp doesn't have much time to spend time with Luffy, as he will be having more world government stuff to deal with. Luffy goes through the hardcore training from the monkeys, which we have seen in the Thriller Bark arc, and the legendary Mihawk himself. Although Mihawk doesn't have any crew, he would spend more time training with Luffy. So, with the help of the monkeys, Luffy can develop the haki more quicker, which actually also fits his name, the Monkey D. Luffy, which we can relate to kid trained by monkeys, if the timeline is not too disturbed. And maybe he could also be friends with Perona, probably. Can you imagine Luffy without a straw hat? Instead of getting a straw hat from Shanks, Luffy receives a rare premium swords from Hawkeye Mihawk, which is very valuable and prestigious in the history. Luffy's body will get more muscular and thicker after the hardcore physical training. We see a different Luffy we have never seen before. This Luffy is more like the coolest introvert like Mihawk and you. And hit the subscribe button if you think you are cool as our boy Luffy. The extrovert side of him is totally gone now. He is now a well-matured, intelligent Luffy. At the age of 16, he sets a sail on the sea to achieve his goal. Will he meet Zoro? Well, but he will meet Sanji first. Of course, on a fine day, he arrives at the Zeph's ship, and hopefully have a great time together with Sanji for sure, and Luffy departs from him. There could be no huge interaction and bond between them. Well, coming to Zoro, Luffy would absolutely meet him. Of course, they both have heard about each other, hence they both are famous skilled swordsmen now. Luffy sets a sail to confront Zoro, and finds him Marine's capture, arrested by Captain Morgan. Luffy frees Zoro, and gives him his 3 swords to fight him instant. The Marine guards tries to stop Luffy, but this version of Luffy wipes every single person over there instantly. The battle begins. Zoro with his 3 swords, and Luffy with his special sword, which was given to him by Mihawk. Zoro sees Luffy's special premium sword, and he wanted it so badly, rushes to Luffy to slash him, but Luffy dodges easily with his developed haki. We all know Zoro has been starved without food, and his energy levels were very low. Luffy changes his mind. He doesn't want to win a fight like this. But Zoro on the other side wanted that sword so badly, so he's not going back on Luffy. Zoro repeats the attacks, Luffy keeping on dodging. After a certain time, Luffy makes a move and gives an intense cut to Zoro. Zoro falls apart. Luffy says, "Right now, you are so weak, and I don't need a win like this." Zoro has been injured so badly. Luffy confronts him as a rival, saying, "Right now, you are so weak, and no match for me. I will come back to devour you after a certain period. Stay alive and become stronger, Roronoa Zoro." Zoro agrees to the challenge, and Luffy leaves. What about Nami and Usopp? Does Nami be free from Arlong? Even if Nami pays the whole debt to Arlong, he wouldn't free Nami. So here's the most possible outcome, that she meets Luffy. Nami enters Luffy's ship to loot some of his berries and treasure he stored, but unfortunately, she gets disappointed by finding a tiny pouch of treasure in his ship. Luffy arrives in the room of his ship, where Nami was about to steal his berries. Luffy asks, "Who the hell are you on my ship?" Nami replies, "I was chased by a bunch of pirates, and to escape from them I have entered on this ship." Luffy asks, "Nami, do you want me to teach them a lesson?" Nami replies, "They have already left." Nami's eye falls on the Luffy's premium sword, which was given by Mihawk, and she decides to steal that sword, expecting a huge amount of berries if she sold it to a local sword dealer. Then she asks Luffy to drop her in her island, so she could escape from the pirates who were chasing her. Luffy shows some sympathy on her, agrees to drop her safely. Finally, the moon arrives. Luffy falls asleep. Next day in the morning, Luffy checks his ship. Nami was disappeared, and his sword as well. Luffy goes to the island which Nami told about where she lives in. To get his sword back, he enters the island and sees a bunch of fishmen's. He asks Hatchin, who was nearby, "Did you see the orange-haired girl with a tattoo on the shoulder? Her name was Nami, if I'm not wrong." Hatchin replies, "Yeah, she belongs to our crew. What business do you have with her?" Luffy says she stole my sword and my berries. Hatchin laughs aggressively and replies, "This is our territory, and no one leaves alive who confronts us." Then, Luffy had to run his hands on them. Even though he doesn't have his sword, he has developed his haki and has crazy skills to fight. After getting beaten up by Luffy, the fisherman takes him to Arlong's territory, thinking that Arlong can defeat him. Luffy sees Nami there and Arlong too. After a while, he finds that they are using Nami to get maps, and Luffy decides to fight all the fishermen alone to free Nami and the villagers. The battle begins, Arlong and his crew on one side, and Luffy alone without his sword on the other hand. The only advantage that Luffy got is he is not dumb, so to rescue Nami, he blows up lower fishmen's, and Luffy has an ultimate body which can resist a huge amount of strikes. So, even if he gets 3 to 4 hard strikes from Arlong and his top-ranked fishmen's, he can manage to match their power levels all by himself. Hatchin was already defeated by Luffy when he entered the island, so there are only 2 fishmen's left excluding Arlong, Chu and Karubi. The other two top-tier fishmen attacks Luffy at the same time. Luffy manages to dodge their attacks after a while. Luffy loses most of his blood. He uses his armament haki and hardens his body to avoid more strikes from Chu and Karubi. Nami on the other side, wishing Luffy to win and save her and the whole village. Luffy, who was so strong physically, lands a powerful punch against both of them and manages to defeat them at last. But he has paid it with a huge amount of blood loss. The only one who was left is Arlong. He enters the battle ring, strikes many attack towards Luffy, but Luffy doesn't want to accept defeat. At the moment of last strike from Arlong, Nami throws Luffy's sword to him. Luffy catches his sword and swings it with the whole power he had. He destroys the whole Arlong's territory, and Later, Arlong was arrested by the world government. Luffy asked Nami to join his crew even after the betrayal because she is the only one who can navigate him to the exact locations where he wanted to go. Nami accepts the offer, and there we are, the first Straw Hat member to join in Luffy's crew. They both sets a sail to continue their adventures and reaches to village where Usopp lived. They find those three children walking around passing by. They asks, "Who are you two? We've never saw you before in the village." Luffy says, "I'm the strongest swordsman." The kid starts laughing and says, "No one is stronger than our captain, the greatest Usopp." Luffy loses his coolness and asks the kids to take them to Usopp. Being a swordsman, Luffy have to fight and defeat every strongest person nearby to spread his name all around the sea. So the kids took Luffy to Usopp, and Luffy challenges him to a fight. There you go. Here's how the another member is going to join Straw Hats. Luffy makes a move without any hesitation. Usopp on the other side, trembling with the fear. He admits that he is weak actually, and doesn't want to fight Luffy. Luffy was very disappointed after listening to lies of the kids. Usopp offers them to show around the village in exchange of disappointing Luffy with his life. Wherever they go, everyone used to call Usopp a liar and a coward in front of Luffy and Nami. Luffy believes that Usopp has a great talent and skill hiding inside him. The main arc begins. Kaya gets betrayed by his caretaker. Usopp hears the news. Even though he was a coward, he runs to save Kaya from Kuro. Luffy follows him, and helps Usopp and Kaya to get rid of the betrayal by Kuro. After helping the both of them, Luffy asks Usopp to get in the ship and join his crew, where Usopp's goal was to become a brave warrior and a great sniper. He accepted Luffy's offer and joined his crew. Do you want to know how this is going to happen next? Are Zoro and Sanji going to meet Luffy again in the future? Will they join the Luffy's crew when they meet again? We will make a part 2 on this covering the story of Chopper, Robin, and other crew members. Make sure to like the video and smash the subscribe button.